Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another session of Midweek Chatter with Wonder Girls. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Mabel. Hope everybody is keeping well as you enter our first week of phase 1.
If you also enjoy pastry like us, type a P in the comment.
Yes. And today is World Bicycle Day. Happy World Bicycle Day to all of you. Interestingly, cycling as an alternative mode of transportation is becoming the spotlight in Europe during this COVID-19 situation as the governments look at ways to reduce crowds in public transport. Back home here, we are going to have 800 kilometers of cycling paths by year 2023.
If you support this initiative too, type C in the comment. This afternoon, we are happy to have Miss Iris Tay from In a Nutshell Bakery with us to share about using Chinese herbs as part of the ingredients when baking and what gave her that inspiration to do so.
Yes, but before we invite Iris online, allow me to share a little bit about ourselves if you are new to Travel Wonder. Travel Wonder is a licensed online and offline travel agency based in Singapore, specializing in active holidays. Join us in the future if you're looking for to cycle, hike, or run overseas. We can also plan all sorts of vacations that you desire, from romantic getaways to rest and relaxation trips, or even family fun trips. Our website is www.travel-wonder.com. Remember to check us out when you're ready to travel.
Please give us a like, comment, and share this broadcast. We would like to announce the winner for last week's chatter. The winner for our live session is Dorothy Go. Congratulations on winning yourself a luggage belt with TSA lock, sponsored by Uniworld Boutique River Cruising. We will be in touch with you via private message on the redemption of the gift.
This week, we are giving away a Bluetooth speaker sponsored by AV's Budget Car Rental. So keep the engagement up to increase your chances of winning.
Oh, I have not bring out the prize yet. I shall go and grab it on later.
Okay. Oh, I have it here actually.
You have it here. Would you like to show it to
Small
the audience?
This small little cute Bluetooth. Yeah, my little man is wearing a scarf, which is actually the wire. Yeah, so this small little Bluetooth is sponsored by AV's Budget Car Rental.
Yeah, so you're going to get a brand new one for the highest engagement viewer today.
Yes.
Thank you very much to everyone who has been accompanying us for the past Wednesday afternoons. If you have already won a prize, we will pass the chance to another highest engagement audience so that everybody has a chance to win something. We will put the winner back into the draw after a 2-week break after you have won. Nevertheless, please keep your comments and questions flowing in, regardless if you have won a prize today. Continue to keep us busy. Keep Iris talking to share about her baking secrets.
Let us now welcome Iris online. Hello.
Hi.
How have you been today?
Not too bad. Busy baking in the morning, but I'm free now for this live session.
Good to have
good.
you.
Yes,
While we are
yes.
talking, we can hear you are very busy at the background, which,
Yeah.
which really got me very excited.
Okay, just to share a little background, Iris and I know one another because we used to be Dragon Boat teammates. We still keep in touch, and when I found out about her bakery and her interesting concept of using Chinese herbs, I was super intrigued. Iris, what gave you the inspiration behind this concept initially?
Okay, so basically for me, right, because I've always been into very Chinese stuff. I like Chinese language, then I like Chinese culture in itself. So naturally, I also very into like all those Chinese related culture, ingredients and whatnot. So because I first discovered my passion in baking when I was about 17, so I started baking the usual basic one like cakes, cupcakes and all. Then eventually, when I found out like you can incorporate a lot of different creativity and your own ideas into bakes, right? So I decided to incorporate the things that I love, basically, like Chinese herbs or Chinese elements into all these pastries. And when I found out that there's very few like existing Chinese herb related pastries in the market, I decided why not I spread something like that to the masses and more people can get to taste something unique in a way. because Chinese pastry, Chinese herbs in pastry is something rare, I would say, so far in the market.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or almost unheard of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yes.
I mean, here and there you hear buns, like breads or what with longans and all that, but to use actually like goji berries, red dates, and all these in cakes as well is something more rare in Singapore, especially I would say. So I decided to incorporate something like that into my bakes and bring it to everyone who enjoys all these pastries. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Mm.
I remember visiting you back in Bangkok a few years ago when you were studying there. Maybe you'd like to share more with our viewers. What were you studying in Bangkok?
Oh, okay. So basically, when I was in Bangkok back in 2016, it was actually the period of time whereby I finished my poly already. So right after I finished my final year project, actually all the time I was thinking, okay, right after poly, what do I exactly want to do? But I knew all this while that baking is something I always wanted to pursue. So after I finished my final project in poly, without hesitation, I went ahead to pursue this baking course in Bangkok. It's actually a French pastry school, but because Bangkok seems to be the most accessible one from Singapore, not being too far as well, so I decided to pursue the bread course over there, which lasted me for about 3 to 4 months. So basically, this boulangerie course allowed me to learn a lot of techniques about bread making, as well as the sensitivity of bread making in itself, because there's a lot of knowledge and techniques involved, like temperature, water purity, etc., will all actually affect the product of the bread. So when I received all this knowledge I learned over that my period of stay in Bangkok, I decided to bring it over into the current herbal buns, which is the signature in a nutshell's bakery currently lah. Yeah, and I hope everyone who gets a taste of it will get to enjoy it also.
Okay. So you said that you start dabbling in baking was because was from cupcakes, right? If I hear you
Something like,
correctly at the
yeah,
beginning.
something
Yeah.
like muffins, cupcakes, because those are like the more basic, easy to do one. Like usually
Mm.
beginners they will venture into like cupcakes or muffins because it's more um, fail proof in a way. Yeah, but
Yes.
breads wise, there's a lot of techniques and knowledge involved, so it tends to be tougher, I would say, compared to cakes.
Mm. So I can presume that you also have a sweet tooth. That's why you started off with pastry first, and then slowly your interest built from there into bread making.
Yeah, correct. Actually, if anyone who knows me, right, like particularly Mabel herself also, when she went on a trip with me to Bangkok once, and then she
Oh
realized
my
that
God.
almost every other hour I'm eating. And because I'm very into
Ah,
pastries and breads and all, so it's like I'm always eating lah, basically. So for my main meals, right, people will tend to say, hey, why do you eat so little? It's because in between, right, I tend to eat a lot of pastries, breads, etc., etc. And I think it's because of that also that spurred my interest in baking in itself. Lah. But if you talk about sweet tooth wise, as much as I like pastries, I do not like pastries that are too sweet, creamy or buttery. So I tend to bring that into my own pastries as well, so that it's like more neutral in a way and not overly sweet. And because very gelat, like you
yeah.
get sick of it very easily.
Yeah, I think I agree with you because as now we are all moving towards like maybe healthier choice, right? We will also tend to choose. We want the sweetness, but not so sweet
Yeah,
that put you
exactly.
off after like
Correct.
2 mouthful or 3 mouthful into the
Yeah,
desserts.
you get sick of it very easily.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
correct.
so so how long have you been operating in a nutshell bakery?
Okay, in a nutshell, okay, before that, right, in a nutshell was actually called 综艺店. It was more of a Chinese name, lah, given the Chinese elements and all that was involved in it. And only recently we decided to rebrand it into In a Nutshell, which I'll be covering more about why later. But I first started this 综艺店to proper last August actually. Because in between I was busy doing part-time jobs at cafes and working as a pastry cook lah most of my time. In fact, if I look back at all my previous career experiences and experiences, it's all in the kitchen mostly. Yeah.
Do you
I-
have sorry?
No, because of my interest in this field, so I've always looked for careers in this path lah, in a way.
Yeah, which is good because also through those kinds of working environment, you're actually gaining experiences outside
Correct.
of school
Yeah.
ever since like you graduate from the bakery school.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
matters a lot, particularly in like F&B and all, which is very hands-on actually.
So do you currently now have a shop front or are you operating as a home business?
Okay, so this is always my end goal is actually to have my own bakery, like a shop front. But currently, because I've just started this up, so I'm slowly working towards that. It's currently still a home bakery, but hopefully someday I can go up to another level to have my own shop front. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Good. At least you know what you want and you are going
Yeah.
there to achieve it. Yeah.
Slowly
Yes.
but surely, I guess.
So just interesting, just now you mentioned about 中一点, right? So why you decided to change the name of your bakery to In a Nutshell?
Okay, so basically 中一点 first started out because 中, if those who know Chinese, especially, you know 中 means 中文, like 中华文化 or what, it's all 中 related to Chinese in itself. Then the 义 for 中一点, right, the 义 means benefits, like 利益 in Chinese or 益处, so it's like benefits of ingredients of the Chinese herbs and all. 点 basically means 一点 in itself also means a little bit in Chinese. So 一点, then 点 is also 点心 the 点, like dim sum, you know, pastry.
Okay.
Yeah, so because of all the Chinese elements in my pastries, I decided to call it 中一点. But over time, I realized this name tends to be a bit not so impressionable in a way because of like how, you know, Chinese charactered words and all in my packaging and all. And
Yeah.
the very main reason why I decided to change is because I realized of all the Chinese herbs that I experimented with, right, I tend to only narrow down to like goji berries, red dates, or dried longans as the main herbs that I use in my ingredients because you realize other Chinese herbs, for example, ginseng and all that, it's really a bit hard to incorporate into pastries because of the bitter taste or the high cost involved.
Yeah.
So, and besides that, also because some people tend to be intolerant towards too much Chinese herbs. Like for example, those people with G6PD deficiency. For example, my boyfriend himself, he actually has this deficiency. So, what happens is they cannot take too many Chinese herbs. And that is when I considered this group of people as well. And I decided that, okay, why not we just focus on a more narrow group of Chinese herbs. And because most of my ingredients have walnuts, because of my love for it as well, so I decided to incorporate it into almost all of my bakes lah. So in a nutshell, everything that we own, everything that we are working on, is all summed up together in a nutshell in our small bakery.
I see.
That's the reason
Okay.
why we had a rebranding lah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Correct.
So what bakes are popular among your customers then? And do you know why?
Okay, I would say the most popular one is without doubt our signature herbal buns because this is like what I said, something that hasn't appeared in the market in a way. But recently because I've always liked to do other bakes as well, not only buns, like you know, brownies, cakes and all. Then I realized that hey, actually many people love my brownies as well. And when I started pushing out my red date walnut cake, which is something I believe most of you haven't heard of before, and many of my clients actually showed interest in this cake lah. So I think that's one of the big hit also in like big hit in a way lah in my shop. Yeah. Because of the fragrance of red date and the natural sweetness.
Oh,
Yes, the date sweetness.
Correct.
yeah.
The natural sweetness of it and the fragrance.
So currently, are you now secretly experimenting some more other recipes for the herbal bakes? Like for example, I mean, like now thinking out loud in my head, like tang kueh bread.
Tang kueh bread.
Yeah, something like that,
I
you
did
know.
think of that before also. But sometimes I feel the taste right of tang kueh maybe it's a bit pungent, so some people may not really accept it as well. But then
Yeah.
for things like red dates or goji, right, because of the natural sweetness in it itself, so it tends to be a bit more accepting compared to those with a tinge of bitterness or whatnot.
Which have a more herbal taste to it, yeah.
Yeah, correct. I don't know if you all know the Chinese yam or waisan. Actually, I did try using
Yes,
that
waisan,
as a yam filling before, but I realized it tends to be too dry in its texture. So I think maybe not so much. Yeah, but that's still something that I can work on lah. So see how it goes.
Maybe we'll have to sell on the element that what tang kuehs can benefit and waisan benefit the women, no, especially us. And then for us, of those past 41, which now we will start to look at what are the things that we can indulge in without feeling the guilty part of it, you know, but yet we are like giving tonics to our body.
Yeah.
Like you can indulge in the niceness of pastries, but then you're not giving up the health benefits also. So it's like
Yes.
best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you allow people to customize what they want? Like for example, now I come to you and say, "Oh, can you help me bake a tang gui cake?"
Yeah. Okay, so far we haven't had a request for tang kueh cake, but then we do customize orders. Like actually the red date walnut cake all came from a customized order. Because I previously just did it for my own home bake. And then when one of my customer asked me, hey, do you have any like cake that you can recommend with Chinese herbs or something special? So I recommended the red date walnut cake, and ever since it became like I realized that it's something someone else outside of my family would accept and find it nice. Because I always just bake at home, and then my family is the one like enjoying it and all. And when my customer first tried it and then she said it's very nice, then that in itself gave me the encouragement also to eventually push this product out, which is currently not on our menu yet, but maybe over time I can slowly push this product out, and hopefully today y'all can get a
After today.
Yes, after today, probably someone will ask us about how can they order this cake for you. I think
hopefully
everybody will be like interested to try.
yeah, very excited to let everyone try also this special cake in a way lah.
Yeah. So just now we mentioned that like you have tried Waisan, and Waisan is not really so suitable, and then like Tang Kueh they have that probably the bitter smell.
Yeah.
So it may not goes very well for baking in this manner. But besides trying red dates and goqizi, are there any other Chinese herb that you reckon that will be suitable as an ingredients for baking?
If you ask me to recommend, I think 罗汉果 is one whereby you can actually infuse the juice or whatever into the like cream, infuse into cream or your maybe your cheesecake batter and all, and then you can go and bake it and try. I think I haven't tried it myself, but it's a path that I plan to venture into soon. For other Chinese herbs, actually all the Chinese tea leaves and all that are existing, you can just blend the leaves into powder and just add it into your bakes. It gives a very strong fragrance itself. So
I think that will be very interesting with something that you could probably quickly experiment so that we can try.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't mind to try a 罗汉果 cupcakes.
I think it will taste very nice though because of the natural sweetness also. Then you don't have to add so much like artificial sugars or whatnot.
Yes.
I think that's the benefit because all these ingredients they have their natural sweetness, so you don't need to add a lot of the artificial ones.
Yeah. So it becomes healthier in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So today you'll be sharing a recipe on the red date walnut cake, right?
Correct.
I've seen a lot of good reviews on it, and hopefully, after today's session, we can try baking some of our own.
Hopefully.
I would rather order from Iris.
Oh no.
So before we let Iris take over with her baking session, if you have any questions to ask Iris, please feel free to put them in the comments and we will address it after her demo. Remember, we have a Bluetooth speaker to give away. Share the broadcast too.
It's showtime, Iris. Cheryl and I will be your background music, and if you have any questions, we may ask them along the way.
Okay, sure. So for now, let's start with the creaming of the cake. So for this cake, right, we first start with the creaming process. The creaming process is always butter together with sugar. So over here will be the butter, which I will put it into the mixer. This will be about 220 grams of butter. So basically for this cake, I've actually previously tried using the oil as well to do it for sort of a healthier version or something that is lighter in a way, not so heavy because of the strong fragrance of butter. But I realized that because of this creaming process involved, right, using butter tends to be more ideal because the creaming process will allow you to give air to the cake, which allows the cake to rise better. So it's better to use butter for those cakes that require a creaming process because for oil, you know that you cannot actually cream together with sugar. So we just cream the butter with sugar over here. And for the sugar wise, I only use 100 grams of brown sugar because brown sugar in itself has a greater fragrance and also of the better health benefits of brown sugar compared to white bleach refined sugars. So putting the butter and sugar together, I'll put it to mix in my stand mixer. For this, you'll need the beater, this type of beater. Attach it. Okay, so for the butter, I forgot to mention it has to be room temperature, so it's soft in a way. Because if it's too hard, you cannot cream your batter properly, and you will result in a cake that is not good, the end result. So we have to have the butter softened, and now we'll be creaming it together with the sugar. So usually for me, if anyone who has a KitchenAid and want to try this yourself, I usually put it at speed 4 for creaming. So you just leave it to cream. Between 3 or 4 works. So you just let it cream. Okay, so for the creaming process, right, when you cream it, you will know whether your butter is soft enough because you can see over here, you are able to cream it like directly with the sugar. Now the mixture looks a bit dark. We want to cream it until it achieves a light brown stage. So we leave it to cream for a while. I'll bring it closer to the camera. Sometimes if you feel it's going a bit too slow, right, actually it's okay to cream it at a higher speed as well. But of course not to the extent of max, because you don't want to overbeat introduce too much air into the cake as well. Because it will cause the cake to crack if that happens.
I see.
Because of the shortness of time for me, sometimes I just tend to cream at a higher speed, about 4. But if you are worried you will overbeat or what, you can always just go at 2 to 3. So
Okay.
it's really up to you. Yeah. You can see the color slowly changing,
Yeah, becoming lighter and lighter.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's very obvious, but yeah, you can tell the subtle difference when you cream it yourself.
Looks like milk tea.
Sorry?
Looks like milk
Milk
tea.
tea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's getting lighter and lighter as I cream it. Okay, so once it's all well incorporated and you see the color changing into a lighter form, right? Actually, it's more or less done already. You don't have to overbeat it as well because we definitely wouldn't want that. Okay, so for me, I'll just stop right here. Of course, if your butter isn't soft enough, right, then you'll find great difficulties in beating it. So it's always important to make sure that you actually use room temperature butter.
Okay.
I'll just scrape down the excess right now, just not to waste it. Okay. Okay, so right after this stage, right, what we do is we will put in the beaten eggs. Okay, so for this recipe, right, it actually calls for a greater amount of eggs. It's 4 eggs
Okay.
that we'll be using. Okay, for the 4 eggs, right, what I did just now was I actually already beaten the eggs. When you beat the eggs, right, you just beat with a whisk or a fork, it will do. You just want to introduce some air into the egg mixture so that it will give a better rise to your cake. And because of the 4 eggs used, right, the quantity is a lot. So what I usually do is to actually separate out into maybe batches of 3 to pour it into the butter batter, so that
Alright.
so that it'll be more well mixed in a way. So if you
Okay.
can see over here, let me adjust this a bit. Yeah. Okay, so now this egg, I'll be pouring it. It's up to you, really. If you want to go in batches of 2, is fine also. But personally, I prefer 3. So once I put it in, I mix with a whisk as well. A way to know whether your butter has been returned to room temperature well or not is to look at the batter once you have mixed in the egg. You'll see that it's like well mixed together and not like long streaks of PC, very coarse and PC. When it's coarse and PC, it means that your butter is still a bit cold. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is like the ideal state in a way lah. Like it's well mixed in. So I just mix. And then second batch, I mix again. Okay, last time. So this will be the last batch. Just Let me put this bowl into the sink first. Okay, so the last batch will be, you don't have to really, over mix it as well, because like what I said earlier, you don't want to over mix your batter. So once the egg is all in, it's done.
Okay.
It's really not very complicated, this stage. So that's all. Okay, so this is actually the completion of the wet ingredients stage already. So what you have to do next comes the dry ingredients. So for this cake, right, I'm using cake flour instead of like all-purpose flour. So some of you might wonder, why are we using cake flour instead of all-purpose flour? Because it's very directly is because cake flour has a lower protein content, and is the gluten, as a result, the gluten content is also lesser. So when the gluten content is lesser, right, and because it has finer grains, it will give a smoother cake batter in a way compared to all-purpose flour.
Oh, I
But
see.
yeah, correct. But for those of you, right, if you all do not have cake flour at home and then you all want to work on this cake, right, what you all can do is actually, you can simply make your own cake flour as well. Simply, for 1 cup of cake flour, what you can do is you take 3/4 cups of cake flour, which is around 85 grams. You sift it first to give a finer texture. Then you can add in 2 tablespoons or about 15 grams of cornstarch into the sifted all-purpose flour. Then you can get your cake flour in that way. Yeah. So it's
Wow, this is
easily.
baking hack.
Sorry.
Baking hack.
Yeah, so you can easily just substitute lah, even if you don't have all these things at home. So and one more thing is, people might wonder also, can I use self-raising flour? Since self-raising flour also has the raising properties. Self-raising flour, right, basically is also all-purpose flour, just that they added a bit of salt and baking powder in it. So if you want to make, yeah, correct. So self-raising flour, if you want to make your own cake flour from there, what you can do is, you can just take the same amount of self-raising flour. For example, for this one over here, you all can take note, is 220 grams of cake flour. But if you want to change your self-raising flour into cake flour, what you can do is, you take away 1 tablespoon of cake flour, then just substitute that 1 tablespoon with 1 tablespoon of cornstarch to add on to like the protein content of the flour. Then it becomes a cake flour already. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's as
So
easy
you
as
mean to
that.
say remove 1 tablespoon of the self-raising
Yeah.
flour. Yeah.
Then add
Okay.
in 1 tablespoon cornstarch, you will get your cake flour.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. So for this, right, while cake flour does give the rising, the properties, the raising properties, what I do is I still added 3 grams of baking powder to give the extra boost lah, lifting effect in a way. So for dry ingredients, I tend to just add them together because it really doesn't matter. You just add them together and you sieve it in. So I have my mini sieve over here. Let me get a spoon. Okay, so now I will be sifting the dry ingredients into the wet ones. Just sift it away. Yeah. Sifting is just, anyone with a sieve can do this also lah, the sifting process.
Okay.
The sifting stage. Of course, if you have a bigger sieve, it's just like one shot, it's just all. One thing to note is, while baking cakes, right, what we like to achieve is to actually not leave the cake batter out for too long. Because once you leave it out for too long, right, what happens is that the egg, the leavening effect of the egg when you beat the egg just now, it will actually collapse. So when it collapses, as well as when you leave it out for too long, right, like leavening agents like baking powder or baking soda will tend to lose their effect, like expire in a way when you leave it out for too long. So
How long is too long?
Okay, I mean too long. Sometimes when you're busy, preparing of course you shouldn't be preparing the ingredients while you're making the batter lah. But I mean, sometimes if you miss out, you're like, oh shit, I forgot to prepare my walnuts or something like that. Then what you can do is, I think it's best not to leave it out for more than half an hour standing on the kitchen table.
Okay.
Like within half an hour to 1 hour like that lah. In a way, that's a bit too much already. Then you will realize that the leavening effect is all lost, and that is what we wouldn't want lah. So try to work faster in a way. Yeah. So for this, now all the dry ingredients are inside the wet ones. So, oh, so sorry. Okay. So what I like to do for this is to just, okay, I believe many of you have heard of the folding techniques like the J one whereby you cut in the middle, then you scoop it up, cut in the middle, scoop it up, or the figure of eight, that kind. Okay, but personally for myself, right, this works best for me. I find it's just to, scoop from the middle, you fold it up, scoop from the middle, you fold it up, until everything is incorporated. Or you
You cannot just mix it like that, lah.
you cannot violently like mix it with a whisk and all, because you'll be like introducing either too much air, or you are breaking all the air bubbles in the the batter itself. So when you break all the air bubbles, then the cake will not rise properly like how we want it to be.
It will become a rock instead of a cake.
Yeah, it will be very dense and stiff. So what we want to do here, for me, I like to rotate the bowl. I think you can see from there, yeah. So just rotate like that, right? And yeah, rotate, scoop it up, rotate, scoop it up. Gently, like, you don't have to be too violent in this.
Yeah.
Okay, until everything is mixed. Okay, some people, what they prefer to do is actually to sift out the flour first, so that they can mix it in, like batches of 3, like how I did with the eggs just now, so that it's like better mixed like that. Because some people find that it's very hard to incorporate everything together, so they tend to do batch by batch. That works as well. So it's really up to you, like your style of baking, how you like it to be. For me, I just tend to sieve all at one go into the batter directly. Then, so at this stage, right, you can see there are only some flour bits left. Then what I like to do is I'll just like gently press it down, because I don't want to, keep over mixing it.
That's true.
Result in a dense cake. So just roughly like that. Okay, so like I said just now, for this dry mixture, right, it will be 220 grams of cake flour and 3 grams of baking powder. So then some of you might wonder, baking powder, baking soda, what's the difference? So baking soda basically is directly sodium bicarbonate, but baking powder itself is a small amount of sodium bicarbonate together with other additives like cream of tartar, as well as maybe starch. Some of them add starch inside. So what's the difference is, some recipes you will see it calls for both baking powder and baking soda. Usually these kind of recipes, right, are those that have higher acidity. For example, those that use yogurt, etc., they will require you to add in both, because when the baking powder, right, which is pure sodium bicarbonate, mixes with the acid in the batter, right, there's not enough carbon dioxide released to lift up the batter lah. So you add baking powder to give the extra boost, extra rise. But because this one we are already using cake flour, which already in itself has the leavening effect, together with a bit of baking powder, so it's more than enough already. So it's more direct in a way. Okay, so now everything is mixed together. Don't worry if the batter looks lumpy or chunky lah, because it's meant to look like that. Your cake will go just fine like that. Okay. Yeah. So I just scrape off the excess on the sides of the bowl, and then just plop it in. Okay. So now we are actually done already with the main batter itself. What we are going to do next is the main ingredient, which is your red dates. So over here, what I like to use is, for your red dates, right, I personally like to use the seedless one. So the seedless ones, I actually got it directly without seeds, and I just chop it up into cubes. So once I chop it up into cubes, don't worry, I wash my hands, so yeah. Then, so basically, right, for the cubes, right, I just chop it up manually lah, one by one. I go and chop the red dates and all. Of course, if you want, you can blend it also in a blender and get the. But I don't get the chunk. Yeah, I like the chunkiness and the bite in it, like when people bite into the cake. So I prefer chopping it up. It's a lot of labor, but I think it's worth it. So y'all can 75 grams of red date, just chop it up, then add it in. Okay, I'd like to say over here, right, some people, what they like to do is actually they will go and boil the red dates first in your desserts or whatever. Then you remove them from the dessert. Then when you remove them from the dessert, right, you can actually dig out the like you want to peel away the skin, because after boiling you tend to realize the skin is a bit too old and thick in a way, right? So you don't want the skin. Yeah, you don't want your skin inside. So some people will remove the skin, then just use the flesh. But once you boil it in your soup or your dessert, right, you tend to realize the red dates will soak up all the water. So it's too wet to add directly into the batter. So what you can do for that, right, is actually to pan fry it at low heat until the moisture is released. So until it forms a dry paste in a way, then you can add it into your batter.
Okay.
That is one method of doing red date walnut cake also, but I personally prefer this one because I like to have the bite like I said earlier on. So I don't adopt that method for our red date walnut cake. So instead of a red date paste, I use the fresh red dates directly over here. Yeah. But it's really up to personal preference. So if any of you try the one with the paste and y'all find it very nice, maybe y'all can feel free to share also, because I would really like to know the different variations that people do and all also. And maybe I can learn a thing or two from there also. Yeah. So after you add the red dates in, next, the walnuts. So for this recipe, I use an equal portion of walnuts and red dates. So it's also 75 grams of walnuts, which I chop it up myself also into like something like
Okay.
size. Yeah. And then of course, if you like a bigger crunch, you can feel free to make it bigger. It's up to you. So now you can see all the walnuts and red dates is inside. Actually, you do realize that for our products, right? A lot of times you will realize the ingredients itself tends to cover the batter when we bake it, because we really use a lot of the ingredients in our cakes and breads and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I think you all will enjoy that with all the crunchiness and the bite. So you don't have to over mix like I said earlier also. So that's all for the red date and walnuts that you added inside.
Okay.
Yeah. For oven temperature wise, I preheated it at 170 degrees earlier on. So when you use a cake tin, I use the loaf one, the long one, the longular kind. What you have to do is, of course, to brush the inside with the butter first to ensure that it doesn't stick to it after that when you want to remove the cake from the mold.
Okay.
So just brush with a light layer of butter. You don't want too much butter as well, because you will end up like frying the cake in a way when there's too much oil. So yeah. You can actually put oil also, up to you. Oil or butter works just as fine. Just a light layer will do. Then just scoop it in. Scoop it into the cake tin. I like to scoop so that it's like neater in a way. I don't want to get all the sides. Then you have to clean up a lot later. So you just scoop it in over here. Scrape the sides. Okay, so actually for the normal cake tin, right, you realize this batter fills up to almost 2/3. 3/4, I mean, sorry. 3/4. So when it's 3/4 filled, just nice when you finish baking it, the top of the cake should rise above the tin with all that leavening effect and whatnot that I mentioned just now. For the oven temperature, did I mention earlier is 170 degrees?
Yep.
Yeah, 170 degrees. Okay. Okay, so now everything is in the cake tin. What you like to do is actually to spread it out evenly. You don't want to leave some gaps here and there. It will result in an uneven cake. So just roughly spread it out. Oops, I dropped some on the table just now, so sorry. Okay, just spread it out. Push it to the corners. Yep. Okay, let me just wipe the sides of it.
And so when you put it into the oven, how long do you have to bake it for?
When I put it into the oven, I bake for about 45 to 50 minutes, but this really depends on your oven itself, because I used to bake in a smaller oven and I realized it took 45 minutes. But when when I'm baking in my current oven, which is more of the commercial type, right, it's bigger, much bigger, I took 50 minutes for it, probably because of the wider area inside, the surface area, and
Okay.
convection heat. So for me, it's 50 with the big commercial kind of oven. But for your, maybe the home oven, 45 minutes should work. But for a
Okay.
good rule of thumb, right, what I would suggest is, okay, what I would suggest is actually for these kind of cakes, right, you can, if you're not sure, you can always give yourself a 5 minute spare lah. So maybe you put 40 minutes timer, then you check how, you check for the, how to say, you use the toothpick to poke in to check whether it's cooked or not. So if you see it's still wet, right, on the toothpick, then of course it's not done yet. So you give a good, maybe another 2 minutes. So whenever you realize your cake or your baker is not, the things that you're baking is not ready yet, what you like to do is to keep adding on 2 minutes to play safe, because you don't want to over bake it also. Yeah.
Okay.
So every 2 minutes you can just stick your toothpick into the cake. Oh, but one thing to note is you don't want to open your oven too many times as well. So of course, if you see the toothpick inserted in is still very wet, then you just probably give it a good 5 minutes first. Then you can give it a check again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now this is done. Let me just put it into the oven first. Okay.
Okay.
Prior to this session, right, I actually already baked one more cake to show you all the end product. So now I'll be bringing it out. But before that, can I just set my timer for the 50 minutes?
Oh, this one, yeah.
Yes, before that cake went burnt.
Okay, so let me bring up the cake that I baked earlier on just now.
Okay.
Okay,
Ta-da!
this is actually the end product, and I decorated it lah, basically. So this is the
It looks like a Christmas cake.
Yes.
like the rock cake kind of feel also, right?
Yeah.
And the
Looks like
redness
a Christmas fruit cake.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, actually the inside looks quite like a fruit cake. When you slice it open, you realize because of all the walnuts and the red dates that are packed inside. Yeah, so it basically looks like that lah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Actually, a very good size,
Yes.
yeah.
How many can you slice? 10, 12 pieces?
Actually, it's about 10 to 12 for this one. If you like it thinner, then of course it's 12. But if you like the fair size, the usual one, then it's 10 lah. So it's 10 to 12, I would say.
Okay.
Are you going to slice it for us to see how it does it look inside? Although this is
sure,
an order.
Yeah, maybe.
No lah, this is not order. I just slice to show everyone.
So meanwhile, while Iris is slicing, if you have any questions you want to ask, please put it in the comments and then Iris can address it. I think everybody is like so concentrating on her baking, right? The comments are very quiet.
Okay, so over here, you'll see the inside.
Oh,
It's like all filled with the red dates and the walnuts.
Lots of ingredients.
Yeah, and you can tell also the moistness of the cake with all the crumbs. Yeah, so yeah, I think anyone who gets a taste of it will enjoy it, as long as you like red dates and all lah.
Yeah, I think every mouthful that you bite, you have all the ingredients in there, the walnut, the red date, the cake itself.
Yeah. Actually, walnuts, I realized, because my mom recently baked a walnut butter cake. You know, walnuts on itself, when you eat, is very bitter.
Yes.
But when she baked it, it's so fragrant. It elevates the cake to another level, you know. I'm not a walnut person, but that cake, I really enjoy it very much because of that walnut.
And it also probably give you the assurance that while you are eating the cake and the walnut, right, it actually help to nourish your brain because walnut is known to nourish.
The brain superfood.
My mother always say.
All the good benefits of it.
Yeah. So we have an audience here, Nigel. He actually gave us suggestions that to try cheng tng cupcakes. Yes.
With all the white fungus and all.
Yeah, probably.
With the red dates as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can consider that.
Because the longan and the red dates itself have the natural sweetness, so when I add it into the cupcakes, you don't have to add so much sugar, which is another benefit lah.
Yes. Because dried longan itself is already you already have that sweetness and it's natural sweet.
Correct. Yeah, probably
somehow all fruits that are dried, right, tend to be sweeter than it was before it's dried. That's what I realized.
Because the moisture I think it gets sucked out already, the moisture. So it's like the sugars, the residual sugars are all left behind also.
Yes.
It feels very sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nigel was saying that he's into baking also. So he was saying that the tip you share about blending the tea leaves is very useful for him because he tried it and actually he tried making oolong cupcake. Oolong,
Mm.
yeah, but he didn't blend the tea leaves, so the taste wasn't very strong.
Okay. Actually, for the blending as well, I've experimented a lot of times. Then I managed to get the right proportions, but it really varies from different bakes. Because I used to do it for my cheese tarts, the batter. So what I tend to do is like, I will blend the tea leaves and add it directly into the cheesecake batter for the fragrance. But sometimes when you add too little, you realize the taste is not strong as well. So what some people like to do is they might just leave the tea leaves without blending, just leave it directly in the maybe the cream cheese or the cream that you are using in your bakes, and let the smell infuse and the fragrance infuse out into the be infused sorry diffuse out into the cream. Then you can use the
Oh.
cream directly after that.
I always thought we have to use the tea itself. That means after we put the tea leaf, soak it in hot water, right? Then the tea itself, we use it for the baking. So it's not
Yeah.
that lah.
I used to do that when I was experimenting. Then I realized it's too wet already, the batter, because you are
Ah.
adding the water in, so it becomes too runny, and that is something you wouldn't want.
Okay.
So
Okay.
maybe the Nigel, right? He can try adding in the blended tea leaves, or he can also, let's say if there's milk involved or cream involved, just feel free to add the tea leaves in a night before. Then let the cream sit in the fridge and let all the fragrance diffuse out into the cream.
Okay.
That is another option.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
William was saying it's like a science class.
Okay. Because of all the I
Yeah.
need to explain like some of the properties or what behind it. Because sometimes people will wonder, what's the difference between baking powder, baking soda, and all that kind of thing. Which I tend to be very confused as well sometimes. But over time as you bake more and then you go and find out for yourself, you hear from people as well. Then you tend to learn more lah from them.
William would understand because William probably just finished a baking class, right?
Oh.
And they always say baking is very technical, It's
Yes.
not just anyhow, and the ingredients must be very precise for it to
Yeah.
Compared to cooking.
Yes. And sometimes even you follow the recipe step by step by adding in the exact ingredients, right? It may not turn out to be the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because oven temperature, over mixing techniques all will affect as well.
Yeah.
Yes. You need a lot of experience or
Failures,
experiment,
tries,
yes,
yeah.
to get the correct your own product, your end product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
I tried to do that when I was younger in my secondary school days. Wow, and I hate it, man, because I cannot get everything right.
A lot of
Somehow,
failures.
as I age, something kai jiao, it's like suddenly roughly can get it right
Same,
already.
same. Start off with a lot of failures as well. Then all the tries then bring you to each time you succeed, then you'll be like, wow, sense of achievement.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
True.
I must succeed first, then you'll feel the
If not, you'll never feel that feeling. So.
Yeah. Joanna has a question. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll bring it up. Yeah.
Hey, do you recommend storing the cake batter in the fridge if you foresee you'll be leaving the batter out for too long?
Okay, I actually do not recommend that because when it's too cold, right, what happens is the difference in temperature, like when it's cold, and then you pop it into the oven, which is so hot, it will just result in the cracks in the cake because of the differences in temperature. Or otherwise, if it doesn't crack, right, what will happen is because of the outer layer being hotter, because it first contact with the oven is the outer layer, so the outer layer will be either over baked or crispy, while the middle will probably sink in because it's not cooked yet. It doesn't reach.
Undercooked.
Yeah, the heat doesn't reach the inside yet, but the
Oh,
outside
I
is already baked. So if you leave it out for too long, maybe if you want to save the batter, still you can do that. But of course, it's not suggested. Not advisable.
Okay. Then Jin Tai is asking, can instead of butter for the cake, can we use oil?
Oh, if you put oil, right? Okay, for this cake, actually, I first started off with butter. Then after I decided, hey, why not we use oil instead? So because oil in a way does seem a bit healthier, I would say, or maybe something not so heavy lah. Because butter is very rich, right? The smell. So I tried using oil, but I realized, like I mentioned earlier, because of the creaming stage that you have to do. You cream the sugar with the butter. You need that kind of creaming stage. And because oil, if you realize, it doesn't mix together with the sugar. So without that creaming stage, you don't introduce air into the batter will not rise. So for oil, end up the end result is a very dense cake because there's no leavening effect without the air introduced. Yeah, so you can if you do not mind dense cake, but not advisable. And also, of course, fragrance of butter is much better than oil. You should not have taste and smell. Yeah.
And I think also have to depend what oil we use, right? Because different oils have different functions also.
Correct.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, but one suggestion is like for those of you who like to bake your bakes with oil, for example cupcakes or muffins, sometimes you can substitute it with oil easily because you don't really need that much leavening for a small cupcake. So what you can do is if you want to use oil, you just can use any kind of normal vegetable oil. Don't use olive oil because you will realize olive oil is quite pungent, the taste. It will affect your bakes greatly, so don't use olive oil. Coconut oil I have not tried myself, but this is something I plan to try over time as well because I think coconut oil is healthier in a way. Yeah. Vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil is also healthier variations that you all can try rather than peanut oil and all because peanut oil is a bit more unhealthy, I would say, compared to canola oil and all. Yeah.
Okay, we have one question from Nigel again. If the butter is cold and you do the mix, will it affect the cake texture?
Okay, the butter is cold, right? And you do the mix. What happens is like I mentioned earlier, because it will not cream properly because it's still quite tough when it's cold. It's not like the soft one that I showed you just now. It creams directly very easily. So if it's cold, you will result in the whole batter being cold also. Then like what I mentioned earlier, it will cause either the collapse in the middle or the top part being over baked and all. So not advisable. It's better when you're baking cakes, right? Be it the eggs, the milk, the butter, it all has to be room temperature. Which I forgot to mention for eggs just now. It has to be room temperature.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So Wilson saying he's not into baking, but he's game to eat.
You can have this whole loaf over here.
Jason also say he just want to eat it.
I think everybody just want to eat it. Just go online in the Nutshell Bakery, order it. Tomorrow we'll have it. Rather than
Yes,
review, you have
right.
to prepare so many things. It's probably cheaper also to buy from you directly. Yeah. So do we have any more questions?
I think we answered about everybody's questions already. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there is no more questions that is coming in.
Yes. Okay.
There.
All right. Okay. So let's move on. Before we end today's chatter, I'd like to share with you about our virtual travel talk this Friday. We will be inviting Mr. Oh, who's representing Gyeonggi-do Tourism from South Korea, on board to share about the activities you can do at the delimitarized zone between South and North Korea. It's commonly known as the DMZ. Tune in to Travel Wonders Facebook at 8:30 p.m. Singapore time to hear about it live. On this chatter at 8:30, we have Meet by Iraq to share some stretches and exercises we can do from home to ease those tight muscles we suffered because of back working posture from working from home.
I think that applies to too much TV, too much drama also, right? This session will be rebroadcasted and you can find it on our Facebook page later. If you enjoyed today's chatter, don't forget to give us many likes, leave a comment, and share the broadcast. Remember, we have a Bluetooth speaker sponsored by Avis Budget Car Rental to be won. Contests will close this Friday, so you can continue to comment and share our posts with your friends and family. Once again, a very big thank you to Iris for your time in sharing with us about Herbal Bakes. Let's take a group photo before we log off.
Yeah, okay. All for the camera. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Thank you everyone for your time, for tuning in also.
Thank you so much.
In case you didn't see it properly. This is the brand new one, not the one that Mabel has.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hope you all enjoy baking as well.
Thank you, Iris again.
Bye.
Bye.